So we first want to thank all of you for joining us today. It's very exciting to be with you, to have this many people logging in. I think we have over 300 people that registered for this call today. So it's an honor to be this connected to our community at a time of social distancing. It doesn't feel, we don't feel distant from you as we welcome you onto these screens. This is awesome. I want to just first introduce Elise Bish. She is our moderator today. She's going to help us get everyone situated from the waiting room onto the call, and also is going to be answering questions in the chat screen and posting some of the information as we set up some of the constellating that we'll be doing. She'll be posting those details for you in the chat screen.
We're going to have sometimes where we're going to have all the cameras on, and then other times we're going to ask people to turn their cameras off, particularly when we're doing the constellation. And the reason that we're doing that is when you, if you turn your cameras off, then the people who are the representatives in the constellation will all find themselves on one screen. So you'll be able to see everybody who's representing, because now they're, of course, scattered across 10 different screens. So, and then as we complete that, we'll ask you to turn your cameras back on. We do want to actually all interact, and the visual is really important, but for the portion where we're doing the constellation with the representatives, we're going to ask you at that point to turn your cameras off.
Just to orient you a little bit to Zoom, in the top right corner, if you're on hopefully you're on a computer or tablet, but in the top right corner, there's a speaker view and gallery view. You want to click that button so that you can see us like you see the Brady Bunch. You should be able to see at least 12 to 20 windows on your screen. So that's the first step. The second step is there is a chat screen. If you can't see the chat screen to your right, usually at the bottom of your browser, at the very bottom of your screen is a little button where you click chat. And if you click that, you'll see this space where people can post comments and questions. And as we have you step into the field and do your own constellating, there may be things you wish to share with one another about your own experience. We welcome you to do that in the chat screen. If you have questions, we would ask you also to post that in the chat screen so Elise and possibly us could respond to it. There's a little section on your own window where you can mute yourself. There's like 3 dots in the top right corner of the window where you're sitting. And if you click on that, you'll see a little chat box. You'll also see in the bottom left corner a little mute button. If you click the mute button, you should be able to unmute yourself if you want to report. We're going to keep you muted because there's so many people on the call. And like Dan said, when we get to the place where we're constellating, we have representatives. We want to try to get them all onto one screen. And that's possible if your videos are off and you're muted.
We are recording the call, and we are going to release the recordings of both this call and the call that we did on Wednesday. We're going to release those to the people that registered. And we may also, if we're able to, do some edited version, some more short, watchable summary videos for a broader public. And we're also going to take what's in the chat screen. So if we're all going to be representing in this constellation, all of you, not just the designated representatives, but each person will participate. And so your reports as a representative, you're welcome to put them in the chat screen. And when we do the compilation of the video and kind of a story about what we found, we can draw from some of the chats and be able to include your comments and reports from your representations that way.
I don't see the space where I can turn, actually here it is. So in the bottom of the bottom left of your screen, there's a space where it says stop video. There's a mute button and a stop video button. It may be different if you're on a tablet or an iPhone, but we're kind of speaking mostly to computers. When it comes time for you to turn off your video, that would be the button you press. We also have Elise supporting us. Elise Bish is a desire catalyst. She works with sensuality, sexuality, constellations, ancestral healing, and she is catalyzing our desire in a big way right now. So I just, again, want to thank you, Elise, for that. So if you have trouble with your video, she will be on top of it and supporting you in turning it off or unmuting you. The call is lasting about 2 hours. We're planning to end around 5. And we are planning to do a pretty deep constellation with everybody on the call today, where we're going to set up a system that the system we're inside of with this pandemic panic, the call of the earth and its impact on your life. And our plan is to have representatives represent that system and then guide you through your own constellation from within your own home. So we would ask, if you start the call, it's ideal that you are able to complete with us, so you don't kind of open to a process and then drop off. And if you do feel like you need to leave a little bit early, you might want to just witness versus kind of put yourself in the field in a really deep way if you're planning on leaving midway through. Our hope is to open things up and then find some healing movements.
And we're also going to ask you, if you're participating once the constellation starts, not to toggle off back and forth on this screen to other social media or check your emails, because there will be a sacred field that we're forming for this constellation. And so we ask, if you're part of it, to participate fully. And if it feels like it's not really the right thing for you, you can step off, and you'll get the recording later that you can view in bits and pieces at your leisure.
And notice that we are in a deep field of distraction, that I would bet many of you have these ideas of, okay, I'm quarantined, so I can get all these projects done at home. And yet, Facebook, the news, Instagram, your texts, your phone are just kind of blowing up. So there's a real pull to stop doing what you intend to do and kind of get pulled into this field of distraction. So again, just noticing that and kind of committing to the intention you're holding for this process together with us.
And I just noticed the question from one participant, Hannah, that this is open to the public, so you don't need to have constellated or representative or really understand what we're talking about. Everyone's welcome, and we've designed this so that everyone, whatever level you're coming in, wherever you are, that you'll be able to receive something of value to you. So
I think that's kind of our introduction and our just scan of all the orientation to getting here. I think we'll start with an opening meditation.
Yes.
Again, my name is Emily Blayfeld, and
I'm Dan Cohen.
Yeah, and we're the founders of Seeing with Your Heart. Many of you are friends, colleagues, family members. It's just it's a real joy to have you all together. I'm seeing just on one screen, I'm seeing people from so many different countries. So it's rare that I see you together in the same space, and that feels like the silver lining of what we're inside of. And for those that are brand new, that kind of clicked this on social media and have no idea what a constellation is, it's not about the stars. We're working with systemic consciousness. We're working with the consciousness of your ancestors, of your guides, of spirit resources, and how we're inside of something much greater than ourselves. And so it will become a lot more clear as we work with this process. Because this isn't really an introductory call, we're just going to help you dive right in, and you'll figure it out and feel what it all means as we unfold.
So I think we want to start with a simple grounding meditation, a guided meditation, just to kind of create the container. All continents represented. It's quite remarkable, all the different time zones that we have, morning, middle of the day, and night. And we want to bring us all together just in a heart space. So we're going to invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes or kind of look down and just focus. And we'll have some silence, and then we'll do a little guided meditation to bring us all together.
So we welcome you to just place the soles of your feet on the earth beneath you. And you might gaze your eyes towards the ground, or close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Might allow the back of the chair that you're sitting in to support you. And just really find the crown of your head pointing to the sky. And as you take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, just noticing the soles of your feet on the earth. How present are you in your body on this earth right now? You might welcome yourself to sit in the center of your heart. Just noticing how do you find yourself into the center of your heart? Is there a front door, a back door? Is it through breath? Do you descend into your heart? Noticing how it looks inside your heart. Noticing the chambers of your heart. Perhaps it's a cathedral. Perhaps it's a tent, a nest. Where do you find yourself sitting when you drop into your heart? If there were front doors to your heart or back doors to your heart, which way are you facing? Are your doors open or closed? Just welcoming all parts of you to drop in fully, to connect to your heart's desire, and to really feel the intention you carry that called you to join this call today. What questions are bouncing around in there? What fears? What anxieties? What grief? What excitement? What emotions are gripping your heart? And what curiosity is rising up in this time of transition? As you breathe in and you breathe out, can you invite all parts of you to arrive, to be in an energetic exchange with all the callers that are with us, that in some way, shape, or form have said yes to seeing with their heart, to integrating this pandemic experience, to putting their ears to the call of the earth, and in some ways to waking up to your evolutionary path, your soul path, how you have arrived on this earth in this time for some reason. And perhaps you've been waiting your whole life or preparing your whole life for what's about to happen.
At this very moment, we are doing something that has never occurred before in human history. nearly every one of us on this call is both under a governmental order of isolation and connected in real time, visually, auditorily, and energetically with other humans on every continent. It's never happened in all the generations. There have been all kinds of sieges and lockdowns and confinements. And in your own residence, all of those generations of ancestral inherited memory of the ones who were imprisoned, the ones who were confined in hospitals or mental institutions, orphanages, slave dungeons, naval ships, barracks and brigs. All those memories come back to us. And there's a part of us that feels we are them. We feel imprisoned. We feel like we're going mad. We feel like we're getting ready for war, or war is coming to us, and so on. But it's never been done globally, throughout the planet, in every country, in every community. Australia and New Zealand, Germany, the United States, Brazil, Israel, South Africa. Everyone is in their home. Everyone's been asked to isolate in their home. That has never happened. And what's never happened is that you can communicate with anyone, anywhere. A few clicks of a mouse or pushes of numbers on a phone, and you can be talking with all of those people everywhere. And here we are, all of us in our homes, all of us connected and talking. All of us with the question of, what is the message of this pandemic panic? What does it want from us? Where did it come from? What's happening to us? And where will we go from here?
I invite you to take another big deep breath in and a deep breath out. As you sit with these questions, these feelings, this awareness, just notice the other hearts that are on the call tonight. You might open the front doors of your heart and just feel the the circle that we're a part of. There are many people on this call that weren't able to get in to Wednesday's call. So you can feel the continued constellation, the experience of what it was like to fight to get in through the doors of the call on Wednesday. And now to be here in the circle with us. And for those that are new to this circle, just feeling the continued process that's in motion from the work we did together collectively that created space for this call to happen as well. And we just want to welcome you to open the work that you're going to do today to your communities, your families, your friends. There may be people that aren't on the call that you wish were here, or whose you want to dedicate some healing to some support to, some connection. Perhaps this is for your parents or your children or the next generation. One of the most inspiring aspects of systemic constellation work is its impact on the whole system. In one constellation with 10 people, you can impact hundreds, thousands. So maybe in this last moment, just feel for an individual, personal, familial, and collective intention that you might be holding. If at the end of this process, you could receive some support in some way, what does that look like for you? Begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers, and then flicker your beautiful eyes open.
In a few minutes, we're going to set up a constellation for all of us to participate in. And before that, Emily and I want to speak a little bit about the context of what we're doing and how we're approaching this in our work. So the fundamentals of how we're working together with Seeing with Your Heart is about freeing people to be able to live a life that's fully human. And there are core principles that come from Bert Hellinger's original formulation of family constellations that we use. The form that we use is similar to his, but we've evolved it, made it our own in some ways, but we're grounded in the core principles that he laid out. That in order to really live a full human life, that everything that belongs needs to be included. And this pandemic is confronting us with things that we don't want to look at. It is filling our lungs with what we don't want. It is deconstructing our plans. It is taking away from us what we thought we were going to be doing, what we wanted to do. And in doing so, it is forcing us to take a look at the areas of ourselves, our relationships, our work, our communities, things that we might wanted to have avoided. Um, Maybe that we just wanted to be really positive people and be positive all the time and only focus on the light and what makes us feel good. And what is coming in is the things that we've avoided. Or it's possible that we have been, um, just really anxious or um, uh, have lost confidence in ourselves and lost confidence in our ability and been perhaps had difficulty starting things or completing things. And this is creating an opportunity for us to uh, really come back to our hearts and to ourselves and to recommit ourselves to not continuing the same patterns that we've been living in. So we are always looking at what wants to be included that is being excluded or not seen. Um, and this pandemic gives us a great opportunity to be looking at those things.
It's been really fascinating to witness the ways that people are making sense and meaning of this experience, and how in some ways it reflects their own worldview from this point forward. So there's a myriad of different ideas of what how to integrate this, and what does it mean in your own life. For me personally, I found that I've really needed to reckon with myself, my own humanness as a predator, um, the ancestral consciousness within me that conquers or colonizes or creates a carbon imprint on this earth. I'm noticing how much I want to get in my car and go somewhere. I want to get on a plane to facilitate internationally. What it's like to feel whether or not I should be stocking up on canned goods or being in relationship to the community of people that are more socioeconomically disadvantaged and not able to stock up in that way. How to manage hand sanitizer and my feelings around the plastic of the bottles and the gloves. It's just bringing me, face to face with that consciousness, and also activating the ancestral consciousness that lives in me. That, when faced with threat, how do I respond? Am I like a wolf that can stand still? Can I access my animal nature? I can stand still and stare into the face of threat and wait and assess and evaluate? Or am I more, human? Is it the soldiers that live in my body that are saying this is a threat? How am I gonna make my ends meet? What's the next program I'm going to launch? How am I gonna pay for all this, recover the income I just lost and all those live events? That's kind of the military that moves through me, that says, find a new way, get out there and in the saturated market, find your place. That can soldier on and keep going and not really listen to the quieting pulse of the earth that's saying stop in some way. So we're all having our own individual responses to what's alive in this panic, and what it kicks up in us, what shadow responses kick up, what opportunities show up. So many of us feel like we've been living for this time, like this is it. This is the time that our message is going to be received, that the whole world is going to rebalance, that these energies of masculine and feminine can find their place in harmony again, that there's the wildlife can come back and integrate into our communities. So there's an inspiring space, and there's concern. And in the place where we live in the world, we're a few weeks away from mass grief. That there's people are really wondering how our hospital systems are going to hold the spreading virus, and who will be losing from our systems not being able to respond to the pandemic as it is.
I think we can start the. I think we should start the constellation.
Yeah. So we're gonna move into a process of constellating where we are. This is really it's really our jam. This is really what we do best. Is where we're going now. we're not really prone to be talking heads that have great things to share with you. We're more interested in what the field of consciousness can reveal in this really powerful way. So we've contacted a number of students a few hours ago who have participated in our immersion program or have attended some of our workshops and have kind of attuned to the way that Dan and I facilitate. And we asked if they would be open to representing in front of over 200 people. We didn't want to just ask for volunteers on the call, knowing that there's some people that are brand new and will have no idea what they're agreeing to. And so we just asked for some people ahead of time if they would be willing to do that. And we gave a list of names to Elise. Elise is going to pick, I don't remember how many reps we have.
14.
14. She's going to pick 14 people from that list of names, and she's going to put them into a breakout room. And what that means is those 14 people will come off of this call, so they won't hear what we're saying. When they're in the breakout room, we're going to share with you the 14 representatives that we've selected for this constellation. So we're doing something called a blind constellation, which means those people are going to represent something. Like they may represent, we'll explain what it is afterwards, but those 14 people are going to represent an energy or a consciousness without knowing what it is. They're just going to be assigned a number, or they're actually going to, I think, choose a number. And then we're going to welcome them back onto the platform after we've revealed to all of you what the 14 representatives are.
So at least you can create that breakout room, and you can let us know when the representatives are in the soundproof booth, as I like to call it, and then we'll tell the remaining members of the group what the numbers represent, and it will show up in the I believe in the chat screen, so you could even copy and paste it out and have it as a guide. So as we're doing the constellation, all the participants, you'll be able to see what the representatives are assigned. They won't know themselves, but you will all be able to know.
You may want to get a piece of paper and a pen, because we're going to post it in the chat screen, but then we're going to scan down, and it will add a lot of dots so that the people that come back on aren't able to see it. So I don't know where Elise is.
She's over here.
Here she is.
Camera off.
Elise, just let us know when we're ready to share who's.
Now's the time. Looks like everybody has joined the room, so we're good to go.
Okay, thanks, Elise.
Okay. Then Elise, can you copy in the representations into the chat box?
We'll do that.
Okay.
Okay. So these 14 people are going to come back in, and then we're going to ask them to select a number. And then they will be representing the number that corresponds with their representation. So here are the representatives. Number 1 will be the pandemic panic. I'm just going to go a little slow so people, and you can see it also in the chat screen over there. Number 2 is the earth and plant consciousness. Number 3 is you, every person on this call.
So you can see that as a representative for yourself. So even though there's 100 plus, you can look at that representative, and that representative will be representing you.
I should also mention that the constellation we did on Wednesday had some similar reps, but a lot of these are different because we wanted to offer a different experience for those that are repeats. Number 4 is coronavirus. Number 5 is pollution, destruction of the earth. Number 6, economic impact. 7, social isolation. 8 is heart connection. 9 is ancestral consciousness. 10 is the corporate healthcare system. 11 is the evolving human consciousness being seeded by the 2020 pandemic. The evolving human consciousness being seeded by the 2020 pandemic. 12 is the great divine spirit. 13 is President Trump of the United States. And 14 is President Xi of China. We're going to, when we invite them to come back, we're going to walk you through your own constellation. In some ways, these 14 reps are representing the system that you're connected to. And we're going to walk you through different representations. When we're on computer screens, I know that people tend to want to just sit down and think they can just represent from their seat. I find you receive more information from the field of ancestral consciousness, the field of spiritual consciousness when you stand. So for our own video purposes, we're not going to stand because it doesn't work. And people that are going to be watching the recording want to see our faces. But I really recommend that you stand when we suggest that you stand and you step into different representations. The inertia of the video is going to want to invite you to sit, but work against it and really get the most from this process.
Oh, that's a really good question.
It's a great question.
So I would say that the large, it would also include the national health systems as well. So we're Americans, so we don't have the luxury of having national health care, so we omitted that. But most of the rest of the world does have national health care systems, so that would also be included.
I think the reason we called it corporate was to kind of, in some ways, there's so many different types of healthcare systems, but we wanted to work with like the larger systems that are responding to this, hospitals.
Right, the pharmaceutical
industries, things like that.
It's but it's very different in different countries. So it may not adapt to wherever you're living. It could be different, but there is a large scale healthcare system everywhere. So you can just adapt it to where you're living. We just had to make some choices. So you could have, we could have made this list 25 or more. We actually had over 20, and we cut back. So we just had to make some edits of what felt to us have the most strength. And there's no, the nature of this is you can't really be certain what the right thing or the wrong thing is. We tune in and we trust the field.
And for the person that wrote no Putin, if you feel like Putin would be somebody that you want in your constellation, you can put an object on the floor to represent Putin. And then that can be a part of your constellation if you feel it's part of something, or if there's a piece here that you feel like you want included, but it's not in the list, just pick an object and put it on the floor next to you, and it can be another representative in this space. And you can feel how you're in relationship to that object. You might even stand as that object and represent Putin and just feel how Putin is relationship to all those things. We welcome you to get as creative as you would like. We did, somebody wrote about the pangolins. We did quite a bit of a constellation on Wednesday around the animal species. So we wanted this one to be a bit different than that one. So we had animals, pangolins represented in Wednesdays. And when you watch the recording, you'll see it. It was really powerful to witness.
I took a note of the, I have some notes from that last constellation, and the pangolins, the representative reported feeling pain, trapped.
Like an animal.
Like an animal, scared, panicked, and shaking. That was the initial report.
And then when she moved back, she felt enslaved. When she moved back into the ancestral realm, she had this feeling of enslavement. And when we went towards the healing, she had this feeling of being a bird and being able to fly freely. but it is there in the prior constellation. It's great, great ideas. So Elise's post about representing numbers, don't worry about that. That was meant to go to the breakout room. Yeah, you don't, that you're not gonna be representing the numbers, they'll be representing those numbers. So you don't need to pick a number to represent. And those that wrote about healthcare workers, nurses, techs, in some ways, that's what we're thinking of the front line, like corporate healthcare. It was like not therapists or myself, which I would say I'm in healthcare. I was thinking more of like, healthcare, that how they're responding. So you may look at corporate healthcare and feel like that's the first responders. Or if you feel like they're in your life, you could put an object down to represent them.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Elise, are we ready to bring people back?
Yep, we can bring people back. In the meantime, if you have your video on like this, hi everyone, you can see me, please turn it off. And when the representatives come back, you can switch your screen to the gallery mode, which is on the upper right-hand corner if you're in your computer, to see everybody on one screen.
So it's in the bottom left corner, is the little stop video button.
Yeah.
And Elise can also help you stop your video.
Yep. If you can't figure it out, I'll just be going through and turning people's videos off. Nothing personal, just to help us with the flow of the constellation.
Okay, it looks like our representatives, can the representatives all say something?
You actually would have to, people that are representing would have to unmute yourself, and then we're just gonna have you hum for a bit. And the reason I'm having you hum is to get you into one screen. So we're going to ask you to keep humming so that you get into one screen, those that are representing. And then Elise is still working on getting everybody's videos off. Okay.
It's kind of working.
Yeah.
Oh, here's
There we
it.
go.
It takes a little bit.
It takes
to
a minute to
refresh.
Okay. So we're going to ask you each to pick a number from 1 to 14, and we're going to rename you on your screen.
So Leo has taken 3.
If you know how to rename yourself, you can just do it yourself.
Talus has 5.
I can't rename them because I don't have.
Oh, you're not the host. Okay, at least you're going to have to do it. We have Leo is 3, Talus is 5, Margaret is 10, Kit is 7.
Hold on. Slow
It
down.
looks like we have 2 number 10s. Gabby is, oh no, Gabby, it looks like Alana is 8, Gabby. Can you take another number? 9. Gabby wants 9. Candace is 11.
Who is number 1? Antonia. And who is number 2?
Betty.
Betty. And who is, so number 3 is Leo, and number 4 is Vina. And 6. We don't have a 6 yet.
I'll take 6.
Oh,
We
there we
have-
go. Here's 6.
We have 2 number 11s.
So Mandy is number 6.
Oh, now we have 2 number 6s.
Oh, okay.
I'll be whatever's left over.
Okay, don't worry about it. So William is number 6. And 7 is Kit, 8 is Alana, 9 is Gabi, 10 is Margaret, 11 is Candace, 12.
Nicole.
13. Okay, so we have 13 and 14, which still have yet to choose.
I'd be 14.
You'll be 14. So Mandy is 14. And
Right, that leaves me for 13. I think.
you're 13. Okay.
Okay. I don't know how to rename myself. I'm on an iPad.
Alicia will do it, I think.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I just missed Margaret's number.
Okay, so Margaret is 10.
Okay. So let's just do a visual check that we don't have duplicates and you have everybody.
So 1 is Antonia, 2 is Betty, 3 is Leo, 4 is Vina, 5 is Talus. I don't see Talus. There she is. Okay. 6 is William, 7 is Kit, 8 is Alana, 9 is Gabi, 10 is Margaret, 11 is Candace, 12 is Nicole, 13 is Alan, and 14 is Mandy.
Good.
Okay. So for those, again, I'm just going to remind you, if you click on the very top right of your screen and you click enter full screen, there's 4 arrows pointing in a different direction. It's like a little box. You'll be able to see you'll be able to see more reps on one screen if you click that on your computer screen.
Would you click what?
I was just telling people how to open their screen to enter the full screen. Okay. And somebody's writing, to hide all non-video participants, go to start video and then to video settings.
That'd be down here, the little hat next to the camera, Elise. Has hide non-video participants.
Video. Oh, wow, look at that.
Oh,
okay.
Thank you.
What a great tip. That worked. So there are still people on video that Elise can, Hema, if you could turn off your video. The reason we're doing that is just so we can only see the ones that are constellating.
Okay.
Okay. So I just want to point out that
and Madeline.
And Elise can also turn Madeline off, I think. There we go. So I just want to say one more time that there was a point that said, please pick a number to represent. For those that are not on video right now, you do not need to pick a number to represent. You're going to be representing, you're going to be doing a constellation in relationship to all these video participants, all these representatives. And these people are representing the system that we're inside of. And occasionally somebody's going to pop on because we have like over 200 callers. And we're all trying to figure this out. iPhone, that it doesn't work as well on iPhone, but you'll still be able to see people. If you swipe to the left, you'll see like at least four people on a screen. If you just take your screen and go left. Okay, I think we've got everybody here.
Good.
All right. Thank you to all the representatives that are courageously representing blindly. So we are going to guide the rest into a constellation.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to ask everyone to close your eyes and drop in. So if you're all of the callers, you're going to represent yourself and make contact.
We're just going to take a minute to just breathe together and just drop in. So yeah, just close your eyes. And those that are in a number, you're going to start representing the number that you are, just really starting to channel and connect to the consciousness of what that number represents.
Let's just close our eyes and just take a few moments of silence just to breathe together, all together in representation.
So we're going to invite the ones witnessing to stand up, and I have to stand to give instructions, so I'm just going to stand to just really feel what's here. So those witnessing, we're going to invite you to stand up, and we're going to invite you to represent your cellular immune system. Those staying as numbers. Okay, great.
So the participants, you're representing yourself, and tune into your own body's immune system. Feel this invisible, unfelt part of your body that's constantly mitigating all of the externals, keeping all the cells in your body, the ones that belong to your body's system, and excluding everything that doesn't belong to your body's system. Just drop into your own cellular immune system.
When we say represent, you're just breathing, you're allowing every ounce of your body to feel what it's like to be the temple of your body, holding all these feelings, the thoughts, the stress, as you're staring and looking at these representatives and what they represent.
And we'll take the next step for the participants. We're going to ask you to come out from representing your own internal immune system and to be yourself in the world, yourself in your own person and your personal identity as it exists in your body and in the world.
You can feel what it's like to be in the world in quarantine at this time, looking at these reps. And you might even feel which people here do you connect with the most? Who are you looking at? Who are you most connected to? Which representatives are you noticing on your screen more clearly than others? Which are you more interested in? And you don't need to know what they are or even remember what they are. It's more just feeling in the felt sense. As yourself in quarantine, where is your focus right now? Who are you focused on? You can just take a minute to just breathe and feel yourself in quarantine and its impact on your economic well-being, on your money, on your feelings around scarcity or abundance. And just drop into that feeling.
What does it do for your body and your awareness to feel how the pandemic panic is impacting your work, your income, your financial well-being? And you can then also bring in your relationships. Some of us are isolated. Some of us are in close quarters with others. Just feel what it's like to be in this situation and the impact it's having on your relationships with others.
Notice how you feel in your body. Notice where the energy is. Notice who comes to mind when we say that. As you represent yourself, you might feel how this is impacting your family or loved ones, your worries about them, your concerns. Again, notice your relationship to the representatives on the screen as you sit with your connection to family, relationships, loved ones.
And feel what the impact has been on the plans that you have made that have suddenly been thrown into disarray. The visions or the dreams that you had for 2020 and beyond, for the intentions that you set, or maybe new intentions that have come in just in the last few days.
And then we're going to invite you to stay and stand and just and represent yourself in this space. And as each representative, we're going to ask for reports from the representatives. And as they report, just feel how your body changes. Feel what comes up for you. Begin to kind of track and notice just what's alive in your own body. And we're going to get reports from each representative at this point. And those that are at home, just stay in that space and welcome this information as if you were standing in the room with us live in a constellation.
And if you happen to have technical issues, just consider this part of your constellation. The technical issues you have, and just stay with us, and as much as you can, stay present to the field that's forming in the constellation, rather than getting too drawn off by whatever technical issues are affecting you. So we're going to start. We're going to ask number one. Can you just report in just a few sentences what are you feeling? What's happening for you?
I feel very peaceful and calm, and I want to open up. I kind of wanted to go out through my window and open up. When you were talking about relationships, that kind of closed me, and I wanted everything which is around relationships, I wanted that to lift that up, like get it out of something. I have a strong relation to number 8. Yeah. When you were rocking, that was really good, very comforting. I really like seeing you. And I have a connection to 10. That movement, it feels a little aggressive, but it's a good aggressive cleansing movement to me. Like, yeah, that's what we need to do. That's good. Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to now ask number 2. Can you report, please?
I think we need to, Elise, could you unmute number 2?
I have a lot of sadness and panic going on. I really don't trust anyone in the field. When number one talked, I really didn't like that at all. It just was repulsive. There's something about 5 that there's some connection. I'm not too sure exactly what it is. A little bit of nervousness around number 5, but that's it for me.
Thank you. Number 3, can you report, please?
The silence in the breakout room was unbearable. It was really, I found it really threatening. I did connect with number 4 privately and number 1, and that seemed to soothe me. But as I stood in the field, the more you guys talked, the more terrifying it was. It was like just amping up the terror. The lack of connection between the representatives is really frightening.
Thank you. Number 4, please report.
I agree with number 3 about how it felt in the breakout room. And then when we were tuning in just now, when you were talking, my thoughts were really scattered, and I felt really self-conscious and worried that I was worried about not doing it right. And I just had this like really tight sensation in my chest and my back, like my heart is being squeezed too tight. And yeah, just a lot of it feels like there's something under the surface that I can't look at any more than I already am. That's it.
Thank you. Number 5.
So the main thing that happened to me at the beginning was this sense of being on an angle. So I'm just like on this axis, this diagonal here. But I just feel very quiet, very still. I have a strong sense of connection with my garden, like composting, earth, digging. And when you were talking about relationships and I don't know what, that none of that touched me at all. It just felt like small things, nothing to do with me. And then the only word that really resonated was the word plan. You talked about plans being thrown off, and I was like, oh, plans. Yeah, plan. That's it.
Thank you. And number 6.
I'm feeling a lot of paradoxical feelings. I started feeling just really ugly, like I was in ugliness, and then this balance with clouds opening and beauty. And then about halfway through, and it's still with me, and it's actually starting to feel more like forlornness. A particular memory of a ancestor's horrific death that involved being trapped to death. Yet there's still a lot of opening, yet the tension between those opposites is really hard to be holding, but kind of right now I'd say between forlorn and, some new kind of hope, maybe be a good way to say it. And my body just feels almost bisected in different ways at different times since I stood up.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
At number 7.
I'm feeling a lot of losing sensation on my feet. I'm really weak. A lot of like this ball in my abdomen. Feeling like I'm just being watched. The only rep I see is 10. Curious about 11. And when 4 spoke and when 2 spoke, I felt nervous.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Number 8.
So when we went to the breakout room, I first saw Antonia and her husband. I was so excited to see her and I wanted to greet her. And then I knew I couldn't, but I just wanted to dive, number one, I just wanted to dive in like between them, and I'm looking at their home and I want to be in it. And I was just so drawn to it. And then I noticed number 7 and absolutely fell in love with number 7 with just the awesome beauty, and keep trying to get her to notice me, and she won't see me, and she's like hiding behind her bed, and I can't, 7 won't see me, but I'm really, really drawn to her. And as soon as we came into the communal room, I got very, very cold, had to get an extra blanket. And then when you were talking about relationships, I noticed number 6 and was very drawn to number 6. And I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Number 9.
As soon as we got into the, where we were extra, my heart started beating incredibly fast. And I wasn't interested what was going on with the rest of the group, the representatives. And when we came back, the same started again. My heart was, I felt the feeling I had was my body and my heart. And then Emily, when you got up and the sound got weird with the beep beep, first I thought, there's technical problems, yeah, let's see. But then my heart started going down and I thought, thank God I have a ventilator. That's great. There's the machine to save me. And after a while, the heartbeat came back. But since everybody is talking, I'm interested in it all. I like to hear what everybody else has to say, and it's like good that they're still there. But my heart is still going dong, 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 dong really fast. That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Number 10.
Before she goes, can I just add I forgot, I knew there was a piece missing. When that sound came on, number 8 I got really excited, like that was music, and wanted to like really get into that. And that's when I started moving.
Thank you. Number 10.
I just want to say when there's some people that can't see the screen for some reason. So when you speak, if you can say as number 8, if you're kind of interjecting, just reference yourself so the people that can't see you know who's talking. Okay, go ahead. Number 10, I think.
Number 10.
As number 10, when I first got into the field, I was kind of obsessed with being seen and the lights and the camera setup, and it was like this kind of crazed sense, and I'm just filled with this frenetic energy. It's like there's so much energy in me that I can't move enough. I can't find a mode of expression. I feel like a nuclear bomb or some kind of something that's going to explode. 7 terrifies me. I'm concerned with 8 and 14. I wanted to pull 5 down on from its high horse. 3, I want 3 to come into focus. I want 6 to buck up. I want 12 to see me. And when 5 talks and when 8 talks, I'm just filled with this. I feel like I'm going to scream and descend into madness, and I need to explode.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say that one more time and then tell me if I've missed anything. Crazed frenetic energy. I can't move enough. I can't find an expression. I feel like a nuclear bomb. 7 terrifies me. I'm concerned with 8 and 13. I want 3 to come into focus. I want 6 to buck up.
8 and 14.
8 and 14 and 13.
8 and 14. Okay. I'm concerned with 8 and 14. I want 3 to come into focus. I want 6 to buck up. And when 5 and 8 talk, I need to explode. Just, I know that many people are reading and tracking, so I just wanted to share those again. Okay, go ahead.
And I need to say as number 1,
yeah, I
really don't like that you don't name me, that you don't see me. I really don't like that. You've named everybody else but me. Or at least this is how it
Not
feels.
me either. I have not been named, and I want to
Me either.
else. I reflect that too. I want to be seen by 10.
Yeah, same. That's number 4. I also noticed you didn't name me.
So number 9, 11, 2, and 1 all want to be seen by 10.
No. I don't mind.
4.
4, 1,
2,
11.
4, 11, and 1 want to be seen by 10.
Yes.
Well, I would have said 1 challenges me. That's what I wrote down, but I decided not to say it. So I got other things to do. There's other things to do than all this. There's much more to do than all this talking. It's all.
Everyone needs to calm down.
7 just said that.
Number 11, can you report, please?
As number 11, I immediately felt my head just ache, like a lot of pressure. It wasn't painful, but a lot of pressure. Just had to hold it and became exhausted. I wasn't aware of anybody for a long time. And then when I became aware of people, I was so angry at anything they're saying. It doesn't matter what they're saying, I don't care. And then number 10 is the only one I care about. And I'm so glad to see them moving.
Thank you. Number 12.
Number 12 feels very still and sitting on the verge of awe or terror or horror. It's almost horror or shock or fascination. It's almost like this, on the very edge of those kinds of feelings. Very drawn to the sun, very drawn to the light. A lot of activation in my solar plexus. The color yellow is very, very predominant for me. When 8 started speaking, I was reminded of my connection to 7. The only other one that I feel connected to is 11. But in the very beginning, when 7 was hiding behind the bed, I felt very connected to 7, and then I forgot. And then when 8 spoke again, I was reminded that I was connected to 7, and 11, I'm connected to 11.
Thank you. Number 13.
I felt very aggressive towards. At first, it was like there was this aggression towards everyone. That was the main feature. Just like it was kind of a growling dog or something. And I felt particularly aggressive towards 2 and 11. And then when 12 was speaking, I became very aggressive towards her. And somehow when 6 was speaking, I felt sort of soothed or calm. It's like 6 had an effect on me of like just kind of relaxing or settling back and calming down. And from number 9, I felt like I wanted to hide from number 9. Felt like nine felt like some kind of official that might catch me or something.
Thank you. I
That's
just want to pause for a second with the chat. Elise or someone, anyone, Gertrude Kauderer in Berlin lost the descriptions. If someone could copy them and just send a private chat to her, so she can read them.
And not the reps that are representing,
Right.
just somebody watching.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Number 14.
Yeah. When we first started constellating, I felt like sort of like nasal congestion and a headache in the front of my head. I felt kind of lethargic. I felt warm. And then when we were moving, my movement felt like sort of just the passing of time. Like I'm just sort of very present of time, but don't care either way, you know, how fast it moves or how slowly. I feel like in some ways I'm like before number 11. There's like some connection with number 11, and I'm before her symptoms. Her symptoms were exactly the same as mine, except mine feel earlier, if that makes any sense. And then I felt sort of indifferent to most people speaking, except for number 3. I feel like I'm frustrated that he's in the dark, that he's not completely in focus for me. I'm drawn to number 12. I think she's like the only one that makes sense in what she's saying. Number 10 frustrates me, can't stand all the movement, and I was really annoyed at the fact that she left certain people out in her description, and I feel very sort of protective of the ones that she left out. And I realized that when we were choosing numbers, for some reason I was holding my finger up for number 1, and it just kept getting passed by. And then I ended up just taking 14 because it was the number that nobody chose. So I do feel like there's something with the fact that I chose the number that nobody wanted. And I think that's it. That's it.
Very good.
Thanks.
Your reps are doing great. Just kind of keep dropping in. You're all doing fabulous. We're going to go to the next step in the constellation. Just
Okay. Okay, so we're going to invite all the witnesses to stand again. If you sat down, just stand back up. Hopefully you've been standing, and just we're going to invite you to just drop in and take one step back. No, I don't have it.
That's right there. So we're going to ask you to, we're going to move the whole constellation back into the ancestry. So we're going to, all of the named representatives and all of the participants, you're going to go back into your ancestry, and you'll find for yourselves how far back you go. You can start for the participants, go to your parents' generation at least, and then your grandparents' generation. But you can keep going back further and further. Emily's going to drum to kind of create a beat to activate the field, and we'll do that for a while and move back, and then beyond that we'll take another step.
So before I drum, we're asking all representatives to step back in time and just feel the origin of your representation. How far back do you need to go to feel the beginning of this? We're in 2020, we're in a fractal of consciousness. We're in an echo of something earlier. So as a representative, just feel how far back do you need to go to feel where this gets most activated in your body. Those witnessing, drop back. When pandemics have occurred in your maternal or paternal lineage, how have they impacted your family system economically? How has it impacted the relationships, the place they've lived, the land they've lived on, the intentions they held for their life, their family, their communities? You may find ancestors who died of plague or illness, ancestors who survived and served in wars. You may find ancestors who's conquered and brought the diseases. You may feel your soul, the lineages of your soul, the lifetimes you've lived, where it feels like the world is ending in some way, or the world as you know it is ending. And welcome that soul lineage to come present. And just take each step back, you step back a generation until you feel the energy goes down in intensity, and stand with the place where it's most intense. And allow yourself to represent and give space, energy, maybe even voice to that representation.
And here we want you to feel back into an archetypal or symbolic place as well, beyond human scale, beyond the human lineage, into the bigger systemic forces of life, death, the earth, mountains, the great spiritual traditions, whatever the origins in deeper archetypal or symbolic places, and allow what the field can show us from there as well.
Elise, can you pick a couple representatives? This is just kind of we didn't plan this, but I'd like to pick 2 representatives from the list that I gave you to come in as healing resources. And so you would just turn on their videos.
Okay.
And these people don't know they're about to represent.
Yeah, so I might have to go to the list of alternatives. So it might be a big surprise. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
So Sage, I'm going to ask you to just stand and represent a resource, and recognize that you're still with your ancestral lineage, your soul lineage, the lineage you come from. And that in some ways, you know, the work you've been doing on this call, you're prepared to be a resource. I'm aware that Sage was the one that told us how to turn off all the videos so you could see the whole system. And Peter, also just be with your own lineage. In some ways, the ways that you have been preparing your whole life, your soul's lineage, your ancestral lineage, to be a resource to this constellation. And just drop in, what does healing look like? What does resourcing look like? And for the reps, just making contact with these two resources. And I don't know, when I say resource, it's something that offers healing. We don't know what it is. We're just going to allow them to feel what does resource look like? What is needed? And those witnessing, just be with your own field. And ask, what does healing look like? How can I, as a person in 2020, access the ancestral and soul and archetypal wisdom that breathes through my body, that courses through my bones and my blood, that is part of my inner knowing? How can I be with this system and feel healing in my body? And in some ways be in service to give and receive. People witnessing, just notice, who are you connecting with in terms of reps? When you ask the question, what does healing look like?
Healing is that when the parts that have been excluded, the parts that belong, that have lost their place, when they are brought back in and given their rightful place in the system. Healing is when the system needs a structure, and when the order and the structure has been restored and things are in the right place. And healing is when the energetic exchange is balanced, when the energy flows in and out are in balance, and when, for humans, it's when we receive our life force from where it came from, and we give life force to where it's going.
When we step back and we feel the ancestors that are here, they're oftentimes the ancestors we might not have included or might be in the shadow. It may be soul memories, prior lifetimes that are alive in your body, that are awakened by this pandemic and are remembered and want inclusion as part of the wisdom that helps you pivot and move and receive and integrate the messages of the earth. For me, when we did this process on Wednesday, I needed to welcome the ancestors that knew how to rest, that knew how to get quiet, that could go into a cave and pray, rather than the ones that were out in the world, rescuing, healing, serving everyone. Who is present in your healing movement?
Mm-hmm. So we're going to come and get the next round of reports from the representatives. Number one, can you report, please?
Yeah.
And I would ask that just all the reps stay standing, don't sit down, just to keep the energy moving.
Oh, sorry.
Just because it's easy to lose that energy as we hear each report.
So only as Antonia, I could keep myself breathing. So in the representation of number one, I could not breathe. I was coughing. My eyes were burning. I had headache. I was dying. And it only changed when Sage came in as a resource. I connect only to him, not to the other resource. And the longer I look to him, the better I can breathe. And when you were talking about ancestors, Emily, I don't get that as number one. Like, I can't process what you mean, and I get a headache, and I just don't know what you mean.
Great, thank you.
Number 2.
And just unmute yourself.
I feel like I'm really far back. I feel really powerful. I kind of want to destroy everyone except 12, 6, and 13. There's something about, especially when 6 talked before, there's something about, especially when he talked about, I don't know, it was horror or something, that really resonated with me. And the resource Sage was also, when Sage came in, there was a connection there.
Thank you. Number 3.
Number 3 has been struggling with communication. Like, how do I connect and communicate it? Stay not able to stay in my body and communicate at the same time. It's either or. And I still feel very connected to number 4, who seemed like was rocking a baby, and I don't know, maybe I'm the baby or something. But and desperately wanting to be chosen, wanting to be picked.
Thank you. Number 4.
When we started to move back, I got really dizzy and almost fell over a couple times, and I noticed my computer screen the camera was tilted up and I wasn't in the picture anymore. And when I turned it back so you could see me, I felt more grounded and stable. And there's just energy all the way back. Since the first time I shared, I've just been having these waves of feeling like I need to cry, but I can't, and then they pass. And then every time someone talks about who they feel connected to and they don't mention me, I feel really just like invisible and anxious and like I need to move around a lot. Yeah, I feel like a lot of pressure to do this right and to tell you everything I experienced. There was so much more that I experienced, but my mind just went blank. And I feel really irresponsible because I've had to pee since the beginning of this call and I didn't, and I'm really thirsty, but I don't want to drink water because I'm going to have to pee more, and I don't want to let everyone down by leaving right now. So just, yeah, I don't know. There's more I need to say right now, but I can't even think of it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Number 5.
So I took one step back and I kind of sank into a big quagmire of mud, completely collapsed on my left side. And I could have just stayed there, but I sort of pushed myself to keep moving back because you were asking us to move more. And when I kept moving back, didn't make it, it's just the same. And there was no humans, no ancestors, it was just mud. And then you mentioned, and then I got this flash of the universe, just like a picture of the universe and different stars and planets. And then when you mentioned the word soul, Emily, I flipped from the mud into the universe where it was just light and spacious and clear and everything was beautiful. And then I really responded to these 2 resources you brought in. I was very curious about them and I pinned them to my screen so I could get a good look at them. And the healing movement for me around Peter was connect with the cosmos. And with Sage, the healing movement, 'cause she was surrounded by plants, and I felt really attracted to her and her space. And it was just like, be with the earth, be with the plants. Yeah,
Thank you.
that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 6.
For the whole constellation, I haven't felt connected or disconnected to all the other representatives, but pretty individuated, like together, but in my own thing. In the stepping back part, I feel like I haven't left my own ancestry, but I'm back around 1570, I might guess. Traveled through Spanish flu, which is pretty traumatic in my family. And I think the thing I want to report most, well, it really shifted. I felt like I was in a bit of a vortex. And then when Sage and Peter stepped in, whew, it was heaven. You know, it kind of pulled me out of the whirl. And then I just kept moving back to this incredibly sweet 7-year-old English country girl in an English countryside, and right into the flower essences, particularly blue, maybe blue bonnet, I could say. I don't think that's the flower, but that's what comes up, and that hasn't left since we've all been reporting it. And I feel like if we will, I don't know what we're doing next, but one step further, if I keep going, that through that opening in the flower and the essence and the nectar, I feel like I'm sure I can feel a pull back beyond, you know, known history or ancestral known history. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 7.
Thank you.
You're muted. Number 7.
7's muted.
Okay.
When we were going back, I couldn't stand on my own 2 feet anymore. And as soon as the 2 resources came, I found the strength to get up and stand before them. And kind of feeling like really just, I'm just here.
Thank you. Number 8.
When number 11 started speaking the last round, I suddenly got extremely cold, like super uncomfortably cold. My feet got super cold. And then when 12 spoke, my legs and feet warmed up for a minute. And I was so relieved. But when we started stepping back, I got cold in the ancestral field. I was so cold. I felt like I was in some Jurassic, like Pleistocene era of a deep freeze. And then when I stepped even further back into resource, there was a little bit of warmth, but I can't get warm. I mean, my feet still feel like ice. I'm stepping on them, trying to warm them up. I feel like I want to leave the field and go put on furs. And also, while that was all occurring, my daughter came down and started making food and making so much noise. And I was so irritated by the distraction and the disruption. And when the first resource came in, I was really excited and was drawn to it, but it did nothing for me. I was freezing and just really praying that resource would warm me up, and it didn't. But then the second resource came in, and so it's the tall man with Peter, I guess is his name. And he looks so serene, and that gives me a little bit of warmth, but I just want to like huddle. I still can't get warm.
Thank you. Number 9.
Number 9 for when we step back into our you know, into the ancestors field, you know, my grandmother came up, but there was no real feeling. But I only realized it when Sage came in the resource and Peter. It so brought me back into life. It was like I was so touched, and I thought, God, I could cry here with them coming in. I didn't know that I was waiting for them so much. So that, and ever since there, my whole system calmed down, and my heart is down, and I'm kind of hoping, or I'm very connected to the resources as a hope, as a sense of resource. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 10.
Before I stepped back, like I looked at 8 and I was just overcome by need for 8, some kind of like needing 8 to help me or forgive me. And then as I was stepping back, all I could hear was coughing, and I started to feel like I was in some kind of tuberculosis asylum, and it became maddening. And then stepping further back, I found myself making this cry, like the biggest cry, like it would have shattered, like if I wasn't muted, it would have shattered everything. It felt like it was the cry, the last breath, the last gasp for life, the last moment of being alive, and wanting to stay connected to life. And but it's that last moment. And then as I stepped back, I felt more calm, and I felt just this desire to live, like this pure desire to be alive, and to be visceral, and to be physical. And if I stepped back further, I think I would feel a peace in that. But where I stopped, it was more of a just this yearning, this longing to be alive, just wanting to be alive. The resource in Black feels completely unavailable to me, and the other resource I very much felt connected with, but it looks like it's in a noose, and so I feel a hopelessness about that. And I was very upset at the muting of the other people, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Number 11.
I'm glad to know that number 10 was also, sounds like sobbing, crying, because I was too. And I have this body movement, like my head up, but it's a strain. And really there are no words, but I feel like a wolf howling. Do you want the sound?
Mm-hmm. Yes, please.
I'll see if I can do it.
I want to welcome all of you to unmute yourself. I don't have unmuting capacity, and I don't know if Elise does. So you don't need to be muted.
Thank you. Number 11.
I have a little more, if it's okay.
Okay.
I felt very connected with 4. and I also have to pee, and I'm also thirsty, and I also am starving. So when the H said there was food, I wanted the food. But it's all very primal, and I feel 2 generations back from wherever I was. And that's all.
Number 12.
I felt the need to put this on, this color. It felt protective. I went way, way back, very, very far back to a time when that was very superstitious. So this felt like protection. I felt very strong. And when number 2 mentioned that we had a connection, I could feel it. Very strong, almost as if I was made of marble. And very ancient, old, from long ago. Not so much connection with everyone because I felt so far back, other than number 2, who was probably, you know, closer towards the back with me.
Thank you. Number 13.
I felt like I went back to tribal, like third world tribal. It's like it felt like it was in a camp. And for quite a while, I couldn't make sense of that. And then I recognized that there was a voice, like a voice from the tribal people that was saying, we have to stop this move towards greater civilization because it's going to cause people to get so dissociated with nature, they'll lose their own wildness. And when they lose that wildness, they will become prey to the wildness. And that there was this thing like an urgency, like a tribal urgency to stop civilization taking over from destroying the wildness in people. And then when number 6 mentioned the plants, somehow number six seemed to hold an important role in bringing things into balance. And when you started talking about plants, there was a big yes in my body. And there was also, so there's something about, and there's something about what's his name, Sage, when the resource came in. It felt like there's some hope there. There's some possibility of being resourced from a deeper dimension. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 14.
I feel like I was pretty far back. I would say it felt like the 1500s. I felt very much disconnected from everybody and very much in my own world, which was my headache went away, all my symptoms of discomfort went away, and I just felt very very sensual, very like just experiencing lots of pleasure and almost gluttony, like in a, yeah, it felt little like gluttonous, and no connection to the resources, sort of like just actually have no idea why they're even on this platform. I felt very drawn to what 6 was saying, and jealous in some ways, like I sort of want to be that, but also number 13, like what he was saying was very, I felt like I needed to pay attention. But when I tried to step into some sort of space of like, what's the resource? All that kept coming to me was the earth. And a big part of me wanted like nothing to do with it. Just wanted to keep enjoying my like luxuries around me and all like taking part in just being in the physical body and feeling pleasure was like, it just, I feel so drawn to that. Like I want to eat really sweet things and drink wine and smoke cigarettes and like super, super indulgent in the physical. Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you. The first resource, Sage, can you report, please?
I don't have a lot to say. It just feels like kind of a clear desire to be very present with each aspect and to absolutely like meet each representative, even that's a little bit too functional, but like to meet each emergent piece with presence, and like a presence that matters.
Sage, when you were asked to come in, we didn't have the plan to bring in resources, but I just kept having images of bringing in resources. So I'm curious what you were feeling in your own field when you were asked to come in.
I just like run to pee.
Okay.
And I like literally got in while you were starting to bring them in.
Okay.
And I was sort of like I was a little bit half in, half out, which is sort of ironic. Given,
okay, perfect.
Yeah, but very like with the invitation, I was just like, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think number 4 really needed to pee, but didn't feel like she could leave the space.
Yeah, and as number 4, I forgot to report that I got really distracted when you were describing the resources, but when you said just sort of like imagine what you need, when they stepped in, I just felt like I needed to be seen, and when she just said that, it felt really good, but it also then felt like, all right, well, so she actually got to pee. Great.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I just went to pee, so
Okay.
I'm back though.
Peter, go ahead.
I think Elise wanted to talk, but Elise, you're somehow, let me see if I bring back the video settings. Maybe that's why you can't come on.
Sorry, I don't want to talk.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Sorry.
Okay, the resource, Peter, can you report, please?
Sure. As I was stepping back in time, I felt a very strong connection with my great-grandparents and a specific part of them who lived in Transylvania around nature and mountains. And I'm usually in the city, but just right now I am actually surrounded by snowy mountains. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
And I had this sense that that was something that everyone here needed to reconnect with, and that the life in the urban city can sort of have our minds spiral off into various weird places, but that when we are closer to nature and live a simple life, we can easier feel rooted and be safe.
And this is 4 again. Sorry to keep jumping in, but when he said the thing about mountains, that really resonated because I just had that triggered another memory of when you mentioned things like going back and being with the mountains. That felt really calming, and I feel really bad about constantly jumping in like this, but I feel like I can't fully explain my experience until it's already been validated. Thank you.
Also, I made a mistake. It was actually Peter, the resource Peter, that I felt was helpful. It wasn't the other one.
Okay.
I confused them because I couldn't see their names.
And Avina, just, don't, take care of yourself and your body. You don't have to sacrifice yourself to be a representative.
I just want people witnessing to notice where she's standing. We did a constellation we did a constellation with our immersion group and a constellation on Wednesday where that representative kept saying, I need to go far, far back into the darkness. And in some ways wanted to go back to where it came from.
I think one thing that she just said, number 4, was she said, I can't explain my experience until it's already been validated. That was really important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Want to keep going?
Yeah, just you see the time.
So we're not going to, in no way do we purport that we're going to heal this, but we want to do a bit of a healing movement. So this is going to throw off the screens, but I'm going to put everybody back on. Let's just see. Okay. So I'm going to ask everybody to just take 2 steps forward. So you're standing as you're in your place. And representatives can come back to the front from the place that they went to in terms of an origin. Those that are witnessing can turn your cameras on, but please keep your audio off. And just feel the ancestors you made contact with, the origin you made contact with, the history you made contact with as you stepped back. And just in your own way, whether there's a movement or words, you can unmute yourself if there's words. You might acknowledge each emergent piece with presence. Acknowledge each emergent representative with the space of presence. Feel the mountain under your foot, the earth that you stand on, the trees that surround your home. The animals burrowed beneath your feet, winged beings around you. And see if you can acknowledge each representative, seeing them and acknowledging their emergence.
We hear a lot of talk about conspiracy and conspiracy theories. The origins of the word conspiracy, it means breathe together. That all these representatives and each one of us created these current conditions. As humans, we have co-created the conditions that we find ourselves in. Both the situation where the great threat that we have that locks us in our house is that it's dangerous for us to breathe on each other. We're actually trapped in our house because we're afraid if you breathe on someone, you might kill them or kill their parent or their grandparent. And we're also speaking with each other live and in real time from all around the world. These are the conditions that we have all created as human beings. And everything that has been represented today is part of our human system. And it all needs its place. And the message of number 4 that people have been hearing in her personal way, and the concern that people have had of there's in the chat room of wanting her to go pee to take care of her. It's part of her message to us.
We're gonna reveal who you are as each of us, imagine a circle around you, witnesses your representation. Number 1, you're representing the pandemic panic. Number 2, you're representing the earth and plant consciousness. 3, you, every person on this call. 4, the coronavirus. 5, pollution, destruction of the earth. 6, economic impact. 7, social isolation. 8, heart connection. 9, ancestral consciousness. 10, the corporate healthcare system. 11, the evolving human consciousness being seeded by the 2020 pandemic. 12, the great divine spirit. 13, President Trump of the United States. And 14, President Xi of China.
To affirm how our coming together, the 200 of us coming together and linking together in our hearts and with our consciousness, with our own love and intentions, our own desires, is that we just gave the representatives a number. And when you heard their reports were so aligned and connected to what they were assigned in representation. There is a consciousness that is available to us that's not being acknowledged. It's not being properly acknowledged and given its place. You can watch CNN all day long and you won't see what we witnessed in the last 2 hours.
Those representing that took the vow of courage, and those that got called in who didn't know they were going to be called in as resources. Just feel in your own body why this representation was assigned to you. What's the medicine in this for you? And how has your life prepared you in some ways to work with that consciousness today with 200 callers? And all of you that witnessed and all that you acknowledged and experienced in your own process. In some ways, there's this sacred call of your life. It could be your soul evolution, that there's something you're facing in this life to prepare for your next evolution. Perhaps it's something that you've experienced in prior incarnations and you're ready now to become visible, to lead in a new way. Perhaps you're here to embody and witness, to be present, to reconnect, to put down the machine inside of you, get quiet, and remember where you come from. The representative for the coronavirus was reporting in a lot of ways that the pangolin and the bats reported in the prior constellations we've done, and the way that she retreated in the far back. I want to witness and welcome the animal life. The evolving human consciousness being seeded by the 2020 pandemic was very interested in healthcare, in the frenetic experience of that overwhelm, of that structure. How can we welcome that and turn towards that? There's many reports. We'll share the recording that you can harvest from this place. But in this last movement, just feel where you come from, why you're here, and why this representation, why these movements today. And in this last moment, take one step forward into your emerging future, your new way, your integrated system. And feel what is the movement of your soul. Just for today. This doesn't have to be for this week or a week from now. Just for today, or maybe tomorrow. What's the emergent movement of your soul? And how can you arrive into the emergence of this embodiment, present with each aspect, present with the mountain you stand on?
This is, with everything that's happened the last month, we're still right at the beginning. On the 1st of March, just for the United States, there were 3 deaths that were attributed to the COVID-19. And that number has doubled about every 2 days for a month. On Thursday of this week, it stood at 1,000. We're here on Sunday, it's 2,000. And it's just starting. This next month or so, it's going to get more intense. And we're here together because we feel our pandemic panic is that we feel in our self-isolation that we need to connect. We actually need to be together.
And that you're light workers. That many of you are light workers that aren't afraid to stare into the darkness. And that aren't afraid to look at these numbers and these patterns and these fractals and are agreeing to stare into the heart of it.
We can have our fear. We need our fear right now, but we need our courage as much as we need our fear. And we need to connect to the ancestors behind us that didn't have supermarkets, that didn't have interstates or airplanes, and that faced all sorts of catastrophes without the resources that we have. And we need their courage and their blessings and their love. That we are only here because somehow they survived and passed life forward. And we need them for what we're facing. And we need each other.
So in closing, we want to invite you to turn and face back behind you. And if it feels right, you might bow or acknowledge or say something, gesture of the heart to where you come from, to what stands with you. to the origins of your life force. And ask for their blessing and their support as you face this time collectively, to do it in a new way, in a different way, but to remember the wisdom of the past.
If you feel your body to bow, you can bow.
If you feel a repulsion when you turn back, just welcome that too. And look as far back as you need to feel the origins of where you come from. The land where you come from. The element that breathes through your body. And then you can turn back. Take your place among this chorus of humans. And you can begin to release representations as you feel ready.
Each of you is a steward, a healer, an artist, a visionary, an inspirer. We're mothers and fathers, we're physicians, we're teachers. And we have work to do. And we also need support in our work. We saw what the healthcare system looked like. And that's how a lot of people in healthcare are feeling right now. And it didn't look like the healthiest movement. But there's a ton of dedication there to be inside the system that's called healthcare and to be facing this on the front lines with the people that are dying and without the equipment.
Can I just say it's Talis here? I was number 5, the pollution and destruction of the earth. And when I was in that healing space of just seeing the exquisite beauty of the universe, and after I'd spoken, I just felt completely unseen. I felt there's so much exquisite beauty here, and no one's talking to me. Like, no one's noticing me. No one's noticing this exquisite beauty that's drowning under all the pollution. And I think just going back to what you just said, Emily, about, the focus on a healthcare system, the focus is on the virus, the focus is on the panic and the exponential growth in deaths. And yes, of course, that's the immediate. But then there's just this bigger issue of where are we in relation to where are we in relation to the earth? What is our relationship like to the earth? What is that connection looking like? And I just hope we can move forward into a different connection after we've dealt with the panic.
So could you could just say to the call right now, like, where are you in relationship to me?
So where are you in relationship to me? I want you to
When are you going to look at me?
When are you going to look at me?
Yeah.
When are you going to see the beauty, the exquisite beauty that's available to all of you that I'm willing to share?
Thanks, Talis.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks, destruction of the earth and pollution. So for those of you that are still here, we'll do just a closing meditation.
very long time ago, I met a man that some of you may have heard of. He went by the name Sun Ra. He was a jazz musician. And he played in tiny clubs with a huge band. And during one of the songs, he looked at me straight in the eye. And he said to me, "You may think you're human. You may think you're human, but you may be wrong, as humans often are. You may be an angel." All of us that gather here today, we're looking for something that we can't find on the news, we can't find in the other everyday conversations that we may be having with the humans that may not know that they're angels. We may have come to Earth from another star. We may have come to Earth from out of the mud. We may have come into our human bodies from inside the ocean or from inside a volcano. We don't really know how we got here. We don't know where we came from. We don't know how long we're going to be here. We don't know what we're doing here. But we do know that we want to have a full human experience. And we desire almost more than anything to be the fullest expression of love that is humanly possible for us. We want to love all we can. We want to hold our partners and put our arms around them and pull them tight against our chest and open our hearts to them. And exchange the energy of love. We want to wash our body in clean water. We want to eat good food and enough of it. We want to cherish the little one holding our hand so that they feel safe and loved and their bodies can grow up, protecting the joy and the magic of children. And we want to stand by the bedside of those who are leaving their bodies behind and traveling on a portal of light to reunite with their ancestors and loved ones from long ago, and to be received and absorbed into the light, and that to help them to make that journey without fear or regret. And none of us know how to do any of that as well as we would like. But we do know we're here for that. And we're going to do it the rest of today and tomorrow and the next month, and as long as we have breath.
When I close my eyes and I open my heart to each of the hearts that are still on this call with me, I feel your heart. I feel your beating heart, your compassion, your empathy, your curiosity and willingness to open and explore the undercurrents of what's happening in our society today, on our earth today, in our universe, the cosmic universe. When number 8, Heart Connection, first spoke, she said, I wanted to greet number 1, Pandemic Panic, but I couldn't. I wanted to be in their home. I noticed number 7, Social Isolation, and I wanted them to notice me. They're hiding behind their bed. I wanted a communal room. I wanted to connect with both. Pandemic Panic reported feeling calm, but wanting to go out through her window. Every heart on this call feels someone in their life panicked. It feels a whole community pulsing with the vibration of ancestral and inherited imprints from traumas, from threats of death from generations prior. And as our hearts open and we connect with those around us, those we love, or even our own ancestral presences that are with us, we begin to beat with pandemic panic. We can begin to explore social isolation and disconnection. And then we connect to the earth, wondering what is the evolving future? What is the emerging essence of how to be, of how to respond, of how to support the healthcare system and also support the health of our planet and of our cosmos? The healing movement is for heart connection to shift its focus from pandemic panic to lay at the feet of evolving human consciousness being seeded by the 2020 pandemic. That's just one healing movement we saw in this after party, post constellation. The shift is to become warm from involving human consciousness versus to entrain to the panic or to the imprints and the fears of the past. So in these last moments of this meditation, I just welcome you to call in your vibration, your highest vibration, the signature of your heart and its capacity to connect, its capacity to meet and greet and embody and be with every one of these representatives with presence, with love, with compassion, with an openness. And to be an ambassador or a container or even bear witness to this evolving way of being that we can come together and do, and come together and be, and come together and co-create. And as you feel the soles of your feet on the earth beneath you, just welcome the soul that's within the temple of your body, that's ready for this time. in some ways agreed to this time and can hold space for something larger than we know or understand. And just take another big deep breath in and deep breath out. You can open your eyes and come back to the space. And just look at all the colors that are here with us. Maybe scroll screens and really see who's here. Who says yes? Who could hold this? And just feel how you're not alone. And there were 5 more screens 20 minutes ago. You can just welcome in the community of Heartsight that's here. And just let it soak into your own immune system. To remember this when the pandemic panic comes in and the imprints activate, to just come back to your soul, to your body, and to your capacity. Thanks, everyone. It's an honor to be with you.
Thank you, everyone.
You guys.